Scott.
Nice to
I'm
be
here joined by Scott Monty, who is head of social media for Ford worldwide. Scott just got off stage from Social Media Matters. And Scott, I'd like to sort of, first question is just about what was your key message today?
Well, I think it hits a number of messages, but fundamentally it's about human nature. You know, it can be terrifying that we've got an international presence, and it seems that we have to have lots of different strategies all around the world. Well, frankly, one strategy works fine with regional executions, and keeping in mind that human nature is fairly constant and has been over the course of history and is fairly universal. So doing things like helping people to understand how to build trust and how putting the product in consumers' hands and letting them tell your story is a lot more trustworthy to other consumers, for example. Or that focusing on personalities rather than on product features to get your message across helps to kind of ease up what people expect from you. And overall, to just be good storytellers.
Yeah.
That's what we all want. We all want to hear and tell a good story. We don't want to be marketed to, and we don't want to be seen as shoving ads down people's throats.
So I think that's really interesting because there's a part of building global capabilities, isn't there, where you just need to establish what are the kind of the most important things to get right. When it comes down to getting traction locally, though, if it is all about personalities and understanding what drives individuals, how far do you find that actually you have to sort of start again at scratch at local level in order to get those local insights and understand local culture?
Well, I think the good news is in any markets that we're already doing business, we already have that understanding baked in. And it's not like we have to do something separately for social. So having a good, strong team on the ground with good partners who really understand the culture and understand the research well, I think that's key. And ultimately, it comes down to knowing your own story and knowing your own products really well, and being able to convey those in a way that makes sense to somebody who may not even care about your brand or may not care about your products or even think about them from time to time. How do you get them to care? How do you get them to stop what they're doing and be interested?
It's the million-dollar question. Part of what you were saying today around creativity and some of the examples you showed, like Fiesta, Explorer, and Focus piece, seem to put a lot of that kind of creative impetus to the into the consumer's hands. So in some ways you were depending on the consumer's creativity in order to bring the brand to life. What's your belief in the role of creativity? And do you believe that social media and kind of consumer creativity diminishes the traditional role of creative agencies?
Well, I think there's really a balance, Barney. We need to understand that the more we can allow consumers to be part of the story creation, the more they're going to be interested in the output. Now, that's not to say that we simply turn the keys over to them and simply let them be our creatives. I keep a picture of a shot from season 2 of The Simpsons on my desktop. It's the car that Homer Simpson designed. And it's a monstrosity, quite frankly, because his brother, or his estranged brother, thought that an average guy should design the next car. And he discovered Homer, and then we end up with the Homermobile. And it's a disaster. And it's to remind me that simply turning the keys over to consumers is not the answer. You need to be able to guide, you need to be able to shape, you need to be able to give feedback. And doing that in a way that still allows them to have a voice or allows the content to feel more consumer-generated without being extremely polished by the company. I think there's a balance that we can strike there. And there's a time and a place for each type of content.
So you said, I'll misquote you here, but you said 90% of the job was just turning up.
Right.
And then 50%, with apologies for your mathematics, but 50% was then doing the work.
Right.
I mean, is that 50%, is that the creative chart?
Well, I think it's that. It's being an active member of these communities, whether you're dealing with influencers or whether you're dealing with consumers. Again, not just showing up and using social as another place to have mass communications or mass marketing. But again, to understand what the community wants, to be able to deliver on that, but still to be able to put some of the company messages up front in a way that's respectful of what the community expects. And finding that balance. It's part art, it's part science. The metrics, the analytics will tell you a great deal, but at the same time, you need to have an instinct for some of this, and you need to know how to deal with people and how people talk.
I was talking to some people at the back of the room who were loving the fact that everything you were presenting had some good metrics. But they said they asked me to ask you one question, which was, yes, but what about sales?
Nah.
So we can see that it drives opinion and drives favorability. But what about sales? What do you understand about your ability to drive sales?
Well, when you think about the purchase path for automotive, it's very complex. And the pricier you get in terms of a product, the more complex the sale is. Whether it's a home, a car, a boat, a set of data servers, whatever it is. There are multiple points of input along the way. People get about 18 to 19 different points of input before they actually go purchase a car. So how are we to tell where social fits in that and what the impact is? First of all, I think it's important to remember that social, for the most part, with the automotive industry, is more about awareness and consideration than it is about the actual purchase. There's other methods, other tools that we have to actually get down to the lead generation and the sale. So that's the one thing. And to me, that's why social and PR seem a little more closely aligned than social and traditional marketing. Nobody puts PR. What kind of sales did you get from the last press release you put out? I don't know anybody that could tell you that. Why? Because you're trying to influence others. You're trying to build awareness. That being said, I think we're getting a little more sophistication in the likes of some of the leading platforms like Twitter and Facebook in particular that can give us data either about web viewing habits or about different points in people's lives when they would be likely to purchase a car. And that will allow us then to target some of our content more specifically. In terms of what the output is, we'll need to build in the metrics there. We just did something last week in Europe where we offered 500 Ford EcoSports for sale exclusively on Facebook. Now, it's not to say you're actually buying the car over Facebook, but you go and you put your email address in, you get a voucher that you have to turn in at the dealership within a week. Well, that's incontrovertible, ROI right there. So being creative and finding different ways to make the platforms work for us is what we're going to have to do in the future.
So finally, what did the fox say?
I believe it's hati 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 ho.
Scott, thank you very, very much.
All right.
It was a great talk.
Pleasure,
Thank you.
Barney.
Cheers.